Happy Radio, this is Chiara Nicoletti. I'm with Kelsey Mann and Mark Nielsen, director and producer of Inside Out 2, coming out in cinema theaters on June 19th. Let's start. I was wondering, talking with the help of the emotions, what were your biggest fears, if you have some, in touching, masterpiece like Inside Out? And instead, what were the things you felt safe and sure about since the beginning?
Whenever you start these movies, you're always starting with like a blank slate, and as an artist and a filmmaker, that's the scariest image you're ever going to see is a blank canvas, because it could be anything. It's exciting too, but there's a lot of I'm making a movie about anxiety for a reason, and I've learned to switch into having joy drive, especially in those creative moments, because if I have my anxiety drive, I'm going to put nothing on the canvas. But if I have joy, then at least I'm going to start. I remember doing that at the beginning. I walked into my story room and it was empty, and I was like, whoa, uh-oh. This is really intimidating. And then I was like, Kelsey, you just have to start putting something on the walls and just start. And then I just did that and continued over the course of the 4 years of making this movie.
And what were the things that you felt sure instead and safe about, maybe from the beginning?
Having Mark Nielsen on the movie from the very beginning. Is Mark, I didn't work on the first film, but Mark was the associate producer on the film and had a connection to the first film. So it was great to have somebody who had produced before and had worked on the first film. So that helped me.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Mark, what about you? What about your fears? Since you have worked since very beginning of this masterpiece, as I said.
Yeah, I loved the first film so much, and the last thing I wanted to do is mess it up. So we started by just trying to surround ourselves with creative geniuses wherever we could. Yeah. We cast very, very amazing people in key creative roles, like our writer, Meg LaFoe, from the first film, brought a lot of our kind of street credit and how to tell a story that, in her words, is like three-dimensional chess. Yeah. Because you're capturing a story that's going on in an outer world and an inner world, the different parts of the inner world that all have to interweave with each other. Yeah. But my love for the first film is what drove me to partner with Kelsey to try to make this thing worthy to be a sequel to the first Inside Out. And we did it with a lot of incredible creative people by our side.
You were saying this also in the press conference that, Inside Out 2 is a coming of age because, there's Riley journey to find their place in the world. But would you tell me more about the choice of not, let's say, introducing a crush or at least a romantic infatuation?
Yeah, I could talk about that. When I started to look at what I could do with this movie, now that Riley's a teenager, and I started to look into like the way I was at that age, and really what kind of movies have been told. There's a lot of movies that have been told about teenagers. It's all about the crushes and falling in love with someone. And I wanted to do something different. And this movie was really based on my own personal experiences, looking at what it was like to be a teenager. And it all started when I saw a photo of me when I was 5 years old. I was scanning them because I wanted digital copies of all my physical photos. And I saw me on my birthday when I was 5, and I had a huge smile on my face. I was so happy it was my birthday. And it's a day to celebrate me, and I was 100% in on doing that. And then I turned 8 and 11 and 13, and my smile just went away. And I'm just staring at the cake when I'm 13. I hated being sung happy birthday to at that age. And I'm like, what was I feeling at that time? I remember hating being looked at. I hated the attention. I hate everyone looking at me. And if I really go deep down what I was feeling, am I really worth all this celebrating? And that's what I want to make the movie about. I don't think I've seen a movie in which a teenager falls in love with the most important person in their lives, which is themselves. And that's what I pitched to Pete Docter at the very beginning. I want to make a movie that's about that. And so that's why that's why I chose to focus on that.
Disney Pixar films, especially Inside Out, had always had this way of talking to both kids in a very simple way, and at the same time in a very profound and deep way to adults. And I have to say that I felt Inside Out was a very adult movie as well. I don't know how to speak better because I felt it very close to me and speaking from inside the audience. So I wanted to know if that was also the intent of the film, beside kids, beside young adults.
Yeah, it's interesting because on the first film, we were concerned that kids weren't going to track with it because it's some pretty deep and heavy concepts. But we had a screening for kids. We brought in 100+ kids to the studio and we screened the movie for them while we were making it. And we had their parents saying that they didn't think their kids were going to get it. But when we met with the kids and we did question and answer with them afterwards, they got it far more deeply than their parents could even explain the story. So that showed us that kids are capable of so much more than we allow them to be. So we knew that if we went down a similar road with this film and tackled more complicated emotions and bigger concepts, the kids would be on board to do that with us.
Yeah, I'm curious about my two kids because they're 3 and 6. So, but they loved Inside Out, and now we'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, I mean, really, honestly, like we made it for everybody to go enjoy together. Because Mark and I are fathers of boys and girls, and there's not enough movies that we can say, let's all go see that together this weekend, and want to do that and get something out of it, regardless of your age. I want to make movies like that, so I don't think we make enough of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And I would like to thank Kelsey Mann and Mark Nielsen, director and producer of Inside Out 2. And this is Chiara Nicoletti for Fred, the Festival Insider.